I told myself that as long as I'm doing software, I will always be a lifelong learner. Always, right? There's no stopping that ever. So now when I see problems that I don't know, or if somebody asks me to solve a problem I don't know, it's a I don't know, and I can't wait to solve it so I can learn it.
Welcome back to the Blake Technologies podcast. I've got Bubba Hall here, man. What's up?
Well, how's it going? What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We're going to talk about a little bit of the Savesy app. We're going to talk about you and your experience as a software engineer. Bubba and I have known each other for a little bit now, and we've worked together a little bit on software. Because I don't know if very many people know that about me, but I'm a software engineer at heart, and Savesy is my baby. Trying to help the world save money. And Bubba has actually played a role in helping me with that. So I'd like to kind of ask you, Bubba, what would you say is like your starting point for getting into like software development? Like tell us a little bit about your story and how you got into it.
Yeah. So I grew up ADHD, but I was not diagnosed, right? So I had a lot of thoughts running through my head. And I grew up golfing. So golfing is this game that's really hard, and no matter how much you practice, you can never be perfect, right? So it really drove my whole entire life for, 21 years, And I moved down here from North Ogden. I actually moved down to play college golf for Dixie College at the time. And then I turned professional, right? And so played a lot of golf there. Got married, had a family. Then I started working for a company for Pepsi, right, as a salesman. And then I was in Pepsi, and I was like, man, what am I doing? Like, I need to switch it up, I need to start making money for my wife, my family, my kids, And my wife's like, hey, you should go to school. And I'm like, well, I'm the worst school student. That is not who I am. That is not me. I'm terrible. Yeah. And so we ended up doing an interview for digital media, right, at Dixie Technical College, and I got rejected, right?
Okay.
So then I went back to Pepsi. I worked for another year. And I was like, okay, I got to try again. So I went back to Dixie Tech again, and I had the DMD interview, and they had like 70 applicants, And I was like, man, that's, whatever. I just do my best. And then this woman named Trina Hargis, she pulled me out. She said, hey, why don't you try to be in app development? She really, that conversation changed my life. And I did the app interview. I had no intentions of that. I did it with Brad and a guy named Phil. And as they were talking about the things they were talking about and asking me, it sparked my brain, and I was just all about it. I loved it. So I started the class. I actually struggled for a couple months,
Yeah.
And then I was at a point where I was like, man, this is hard stuff. This is really hard. And I was at home, and I was like, I can either do this, or I can either quit and start something else, or I have a wife and kids, and this has to be it. I can't not do this. So I forced myself to really work hard. And as soon as I did that, it clicked, and it was the most amazing thing, man. It was so good. So I was in class, and I was in there, and I was understanding them, but I didn't get the concept, right? So what I was in
of mobile app development,
of the language of of the software development language, right?
Yeah.
And so I actually ended up teaching my classmates. I started explaining them concepts, and it would help me understand the concept, and it would help them understand the concept, right?
Yeah, awesome.
And so I started doing that, and then about 6 months in, Brad was like, hey, do you want to teach the next class? So they started a new cohort. I started teaching that while I was in the middle of school still. So I finished the iOS program, started teaching a new course, and started learning Android all at the same time. And when I started Android, all my iOS stuff clicked, and man, I just now everything I do in life is software, it's I relate everything I do to I'm driving down the road and I see a sign. I'm like, oh, I could make that right now in code,
Yeah.
Or I see I see a car and I'm like, oh, how does that, I can make that as a model to do that stuff. And I'm like, everything is like, my whole life is just software now. My brain is software.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Like I can attest to that. You kind of just start to see things, video games especially, in a different light.
Right.
Like you just kind of can see what's happening behind the scenes in your mind.
And so Brad, right? My teacher up at Dixie Tech, he was like, he's like, software is real world stuff, right? Like, this is life-changing stuff. He would always ask us, how are you going to change the world, right?
Yeah.
So now, like, being a part of SaveZ is amazing because my software brain is helping and putting ideas that are changing the world. That's everything. I built a couple different apps that change the way that disc golfers think, or change the way that teachers think about certain things, right?
Yeah.
Like, our thoughts are literally changing the world, and it's all in software.
Yeah.
And that just drives my whole life,
Yeah, that's incredible.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely want to keep talking about this continuation of the software life, because we're both very passionate about that. But I have to step back and ask more about the professional golf.
Okay. All right.
Tell me about that experience. Like, what was that like being professional? Like, what?
Right.
As a professional athlete, what kind of things did you do to like train? I want to know.
Right.
Like what was involved with that? And also, if you're okay with sharing, I would love to know kind of how that fizzled out or how that ended for you.
Yeah, sure. So I started playing golf when I was 3. My grandpa got me into it. My first tournament when I was 5. I've been playing junior golf and state golf tournaments from 5 to 21. I played probably, I could guess, between 50 and 100 every year from the age of, I would probably say 8 to 21. Like, I've probably played 1,000 golf tournaments. Wow. Right? And so my whole life was all golf. I graduated high school and wasn't the best student, but I got it done. And I was like, okay, I'm going to play for college. And I lived up in North Ogden, right, at the time.
Yeah.
And Dixie, we always would drive down here for the Dixie Red Hills Amateur. And that was like my all-time favorite tournament. So I was like, man, I'm moving there. I'm going. So I moved down here. I played for the university or for the college for a little bit. So when I started playing pro, I went to Wyoming. I went to Idaho. I played all over Utah. I went to Nevada. I played, I think I played one tournament in Colorado as well, right? So I kind of traveled all over. I played a lot of golf tournaments. It was a lot of fun. I was working at Uinta Golf at the time, Worldwide Golf Shops, and this I had one of my customers who like noticed I was a golfer and I was playing good, and he offered me to sponsor me. So he actually gave me money and helped me get into these tournaments. And so I went and traveled down to Arizona, and I played like 4 or 5 tournaments in Arizona. And man, golf is hard. Golf is really hard. Like, I felt like I was pretty good, and I would shoot a couple under par, and barely make the cut and barely make any money at all. Mm-hmm. And like, it's really hard. So I played for a while, and it wasn't paying for my family. It just wasn't paying for, stuff. And then kind of life moved on and got more hobbies, and, kind of what happened. I got my amateur status back so I can play amateur tournaments again. That was more for the passion. As I was growing up playing golf, I was all about like, I am going to be pro. This is my whole life. This is everything to me. Right.
Yeah.
And now it's being in code and learning all those things. It is a fun for me now, which it's never been fun for me. So that's kind of why the seriousness level of golf is not it's not there anymore.
Okay.
I want to go have fun and I want to relax and still play good, but not put so much pressure on myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I you know what, like I can't say I'd be willing to bet that anybody who ever listens to this would be like, yeah, I totally understand. Because you grow up with certain kinds of dreams, but as you grow up, those dreams kind of change.
Right.
And especially when you're starting a family, it's like, you know what, my dream is my family.
It is my kids. That's my whole thing right now.
Yeah, and I would say that is the right thing. I think that's like the right thing to have happen.
Right.
Because you don't want to start a family and be like, yo, my dream is still to do this thing that like now
Yeah.
my family suffers even more than they would have if I did something else.
Right. You have half my attention now. It just it's not what I wanted.
Yeah, I would say it's one thing for like a marriage or like a significant other to team up, and there's team sacrifice. You sacrifice things to like for the sake of reaching our goals or whatever. But yeah, I think it has to be a team effort, and it's got to be and it also has to kind of make sense as a whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
Financially, like that these are real things, right?
Right.
And so life changes.
Right.
Life changes, and I would say that if you always have the best intentions, it's always going to change for the better.
Right.
Even though like in the moment things might kind of seem it looks like it sucks, but like it always changes for the better.
And that's how I got into to software, because I was like, I have to provide something for my family. I need to set up potential so my family can survive.
Yeah.
And that was going to school again. Even though I hated school, it was going to school and doing the work. And in software development, I mean, our potential is limitless. It's unlimited. Yeah. We can go as far as we can go as far as we work.
Right. Exactly. That's incredible.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, like I always use the analogy of like medicine, because people always are like, yeah, if you want to make a lot of money or make a lot of difference in the world, you go into like be a doctor or something, which is true. I could never say anything that like can put that down to any degree, because my dad was a doctor, and I understand fully that like what a noble profession, to do that, and honestly spend a lot of time away from home to help other people.
Right.
And I don't think that doctors get paid enough. If I were to, I truly believe that. But what we do in software, like you said, it really is kind of limitless. Like I use the analogy with doctors, because I know that like a doctor is just one person, and the amount of service that they can provide is limited to the amount of time that they can put into it, right?
Right.
And you can only see so many patients, you can only do so many surgeries, you can only do so many things in the span of a year or the span of your entire career without killing yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so, but with what we do, it's incredible, because like for companies like, I'm going to shout out Owlet. They're up north in northern Utah. They have this really cool like little sock device that connects to it's all connected via Bluetooth. So this is all software and a simple sock device that you can put on your little baby, your newborn baby, and detect if your baby's dying in the middle of the night, and your phone, like the app will wake you up so you can go save your baby.
Right.
And I'm thinking, this is a ragtag team of probably 3 to 5 software engineers up there saving millions of lives every year.
Right. Right.
And what a cool potential.
Right.
And that's just like Owlet's not the biggest company in the world.
Right.
Think about all the software that has to be written for MRIs, for all the tools and things that make doctors' lives easier, and so like there's like I said, it's limitless potential, and you can make a huge difference from your keyboard.
Right. I feel like our experience and our decisions that we make are exponential.
Yes.
Like you do one good decision that helps one person, and overnight it could help millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
By hitting the post button or the publish button. Yeah. It's not like something I have to go help physically a million different people individually. It's like I can do this one thing, and it is exponential.
Exactly.
And it's amazing. It's so cool how many things we can do and help by not how do I say that? How many people we can help by making the correct decisions once.
Exactly. Yes. That's incredible to say it like that, because we have, like, for example, if we take Savesy, my idea with Savesy from the beginning was to just help small business owners and help people save money. Like very simple, very easy to understand concept, where that's what we're all looking for anyway, in life. But I was like, you know what? I also have a dream of like making a lot of money one day, and like this is like a selfish thing, but I think it's everybody's kind of dream in the back of their head to like not have to worry about darn bills all the time.
Well, and provide for your family.
And I want my kids to have like all the awesome opportunities. Like if they want to learn sports, I would like to be able to pay for somebody to train them in sports. If they want to learn music, I want to be able to pay for somebody to train them to do that.
Right.
If they want to be good at software, I want to be able to, make sure that they have all the resources they need to accomplish the goals that they have. And, the list goes on.
Yeah.
But if I have this dream of like providing, having a well-off life, I would like to accomplish it by helping others achieve that goal.
Right.
So I'm thinking to myself, if I want to make $1 billion one day, I would like to be able to say that I've saved $1 billion for people,
Right. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
That'd be
So
awesome.
to me, and those are trackable numbers that I would like to be able to one day say that, that is the case. Like I have saved way more. I would like to be able to say I've saved $10 billion for every $1 billion that the company makes or whatever. And, scale that down. Let's start with like small. Let's just say like, I would like to save $1 million for people and make $1 million or something.
Yeah.
But like, exactly. That's kind of what I envision for the Savesy app. Savesy is meant to kind of do that for me. And I want to teach my children like, hey, it's not about making money. It's about providing value.
Right. And that's why the Savesy app is so cool, because with the other coupons that are out there, it's a one-time thing. You make one coupon and then next year you make another one. But here, the business owner has full control over every offer, and they can add and take away new ones. Where Blake the Blake Technologies does not have to monitor that. They don't have to talk to every single person about every single different coupon. Yeah. It's like, hey, you have full control. Do whatever you want. You are fully exponential to go however you want.
Exactly. Because right now the traditional model is I would like a business owner would call me and say, hey, I would like to put a deal on your platform or put a promotion on your platform so that way I can get more customers, right? Then we would go through the whole design process and get the images, get the details, and then we would go and post this on our platform. Then next month I would call the business owner and be like, would you guys like to do something else? Blah, blah, blah. And the whole time you would charge for this, right? You'd be like, you gotta pay this much to put this kind of deal on our platform, blah, blah, blah. Ridiculous. That's just crazy to me.
Right.
I'm like, no, I'll verify that you're the business owner one time and then have at it.
Yeah. You have control.
Yeah. Like have at it. Use the app, post the deal. I don't care. Like just provide value.
Right. We don't control your business. You control your business. You do it.
Right.
Go for it.
Exactly. And I'm not going to charge I'm not going to charge an arm and a leg to do, to allow you to do that for your business. That doesn't make any sense for me.
Right. Or or the business owner.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I'm very excited. I know that this is like a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for every business to be on Savesy.
Right.
And it's also a no-brainer for every person that wants to save money to also be on Savesy.
Right.
Right now, it's a very exciting time to be on Savesy. So we have to consider what features and what things we want to build as a company to ensure that future, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's not what we do is not easy, right? Would you say that software development is easy?
No way.
No, I would say it's probably like every single day. It's like, this is the hardest thing I'm ever going to do in my whole life.
Right.
Like, and I mean, you were a professional athlete, and would you say that this is somewhat compares to just like the intensity?
Yeah, no, I use my brain and I make hard decisions. Like, honestly, it feels like for 10 hours straight, nonstop. And then I get done and I am exhausted, Yeah. And then you go back and do it again the next day.
Yeah.
And it's all day, every day.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like a drug. We just like we are chasing the next the feeling that we get when we solve a problem.
Right.
Right.
And then when we go home, it doesn't turn off.
Right.
Like we are thinking about this all the time. It's almost like a culture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And honestly, that's kind of what I really liked about software when I was getting into it too.
Yeah.
Is just that it's different. It's different. We can design architectures that are consistent across the board, and we can but I mean that process in it of itself is like a very fun process.
That's my specialty. I love architecture. I love it.
Yeah, and it's I mean what a cool like thought process. I mean, think about this: a home builder, like let's say giant home builders like Lennar or Dr. D.R. Horton or whatever. These big home builders.
Yeah.
They have engineers and architects that are like, okay, how can we design this thing so that way we can scale this design, right? Because I mean, you see like in Vegas especially, there's a lot of like it's like the same house over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Somebody had to think up the right design, the right amount of material to like meet a specific kind of like budget and scalability factor, right?
Right.
Because if you spend an extra $50 on nails, and you're going out and building 1 million homes, how many, like how much money? Yeah. So you got to like an architect's job is that. And that's what we do as software engineers.
Mm-hmm.
We are the architects of something that can potentially reach millions or billions of users.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to support that.
Yeah.
And not only that, but be able to continue to provide new and updated features for those users
that fit into the architecture that we built to begin with.
Exactly. So in the beginning, right from the beginning, we're thinking 15, 20 years into the future, thinking to ourselves like, okay, if we have 1 billion users, how would this thing need to be built so that way we can eventually get to that point?
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And that one thought that you just said is like how our brains think all of the time.
Yeah.
Not just with this. Like, this is how we think about our lives. This is how we think about our families. This is like, in 10 years of the future, what is the dynamics of my family? And is that going to be a good thing or a bad thing?
Right.
It's almost like the architecture of the way my family works. It doesn't stop in software. This is how we think now.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
It's interesting. It's like, that's totally true.
Right.
I haven't even like thought about it that way, but that's totally true. Because I'm thinking, if I teach my kid this right now, I'm thinking, 10 years to the future, like, I want my son to kind of learn this, but how do I teach it now?
Yeah.
In the next 10 years. And I'm like, and I think about it analytically like that, just like a software engineer. It's just like, if I write this line of code this way now, am I going to literally cost the company $10 million in 10 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or am I going to save the company $10 million in 10 years?
Right. That's huge. It's huge.
It's big. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
And companies want that,
Yeah.
So I actually have the same thought. I grew up golfing, and I was a right-hander golfer, right? And then I went and sold golf clubs before I had kids, and it was so hard to find left-handed golf clubs. So hard, right? And if you wanted them, you had to buy them brand new from a manufacturer, which is full price, right? Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are lefties who can't find good used stuff, right?
Yeah.
So having kids, I was like, okay, I know like left-handed and right-handed is genetics, but I am teaching my kids to be both right now.
There you go.
Right? So like I started golf. So I don't want them to be good at something but not have the resources in 10 years or 20 years when they're trying to buy clubs,
Yeah.
Or anything really, right? So I'm teaching Ellie how to throw and catch left-handed and right-handed. I'm teaching her how to left-handed and right-handed. Yeah. I'm teaching her everything left-handed, right-handed. There is no you are one dominant,
Yeah, you just, yeah. So now I got to do that with my kids because I'm like, you just can't open my mind to that. Those, minute things are a big deal.
Right.
My brother's ambidextrous. And, I can, my brother Milo, he's like so talented in sports. Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah.
Like, my older brother Milo is just like a machine when it came to sports and life. It was so cool. And dude, little things.
Right.
Little things make the big difference.
Well, that came from because I grew up and my grandma had a piano and I wanted to play piano, but guess what I couldn't do? I couldn't get my left hand to work the way I wanted it to,
Yeah.
Like trying to get the lower hand to do what you want. I couldn't do it. Yeah. So I ended up teaching to learn piano, to play with my left hand. I taught myself how to shoot a basketball left-handed. I taught myself how to play golf left-handed. I taught myself how to write left-handed. I taught myself how to do everything left-handed so I could play the piano, right?
Yeah.
And it was to play the piano, but it was also because in the future, how nice would it be to not worry, I can't do that with my left arm. I can't throw that far,
Yeah.
So everything I do is now both handed. And now that leaked into my kids. I was like, I want you to be able to use both hands and not have any problems in the next 15 years because of the hand you're using.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to open doors too.
It's going to open a lot of doors.
Yeah. Really cool. Yeah. I think, yeah. What is one problem you've recently faced in software? You don't have to give like exact details as to what it is, but, yeah, what is one problem that you recently faced where like it was really difficult? And explain the feeling that you had when you like solved it.
Yeah. So let's think. Let me think about that. I probably would in software. I would choose there were some. I was working on an Android project, right? And we have a team that basically tells us the features and the designs of what we want to do, right? And so we've been working on these things, and we had to do a lot of like users location, and we had to do a lot of like automatically doing things for a user without, just like, so like we go to a different place and they check in or without the user having to actually do it. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So
based on their location,
right,
you have to trigger certain events in the app.
Right. And then we have to check them out through a backend server. Right.
Yeah.
So what if they are checked in and they close the app but the server isn't going to check them out. We have to check them out.
Yeah.
Right. So it was working with background stuff. It was working with automatically the UX to make it work for them, and it took, and it was also working with location and geofencing, and it took quite a bit of work, and it wasn't like that was that hard. But the problem is 2 weeks after we got it all done, they came back and said, we can't do automatic check-in anymore. So I put in all this work, and then it kind of got taken out because of that's what the business wanted. That's what the client wanted.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the way it works. But it was really hard for me to be like, man, I spent all that time, and figured out all these things for them to like scrap the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so recently actually working with you is actually taught me more about that happens, and you can't look at it as like you wasted all that time. You have to look at it as I learned all those technologies. Yeah. And if anyone wants to pay me to do that, I got you,
Yeah.
And not be so frustrated with how a team works,
Yeah, exactly.
Because like we could have made that decision earlier before I went through all that, but then I wouldn't have learned all that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Totally
so that is one thing that I was like, it was almost like not in software, but it was like mentally that I had to do to learn how to deal with a software idea or tech,
Yeah. Yeah, and the goal, and I think in every one of our lives, is to be able to get paid to increase our knowledge.
Right. That's exactly what happened. And so at first I was like, oh, this is what the heck,
Yeah.
But then I realized I just got paid to like add a bunch of tools to my belt.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what's super cool in my mind to being a software engineer.
Yeah.
We solve so many different problems for different businesses.
Right.
Like different problems. We're talking like there's like location. We need to do something with location data and location software. Then the next moment we're like doing something for finance. Like we're doing finance, we're doing medicine, we're doing
and then Bluetooth
marketing. Yeah, we're doing Bluetooth. We're working with like it's just we have, and not only that, but we're doing like we have our hands on the guts of the businesses that we're doing this stuff for. So we have like the insider look on all the innards of our clients.
Right. Right. It's also cool because we're almost the client's tools, Yeah. Like they say, I want this feature, and they go use this tool to do that, but we are the tools. Like we say, okay, what do you want? All right, I got you. Let's do it,
Yeah.
And we can't just know one thing. We have to have exposure to like 70 different technologies. And in my head, that's the best thing ever. So that way I can think about all those things all the time, you know?
Yeah.
And
there's never a dull moment.
there's never a dull moment.
Yeah. And you almost have to pry yourself away just to go like relax for 10 seconds. 'Cause
Right.
you're like, you know, because not only are we thinking of these 70 different technologies, but now we're also thinking with our architect mindset, we need to make this, you know, scalable for the next 10 years.
Right.
So that how much more complicated is that?
Right.
You know, like just it's crazy, and people don't quite understand, especially in the life of a lead software engineer or an art. You know, like there's many different job titles for these types of engineers, but that's what you and I are like. It's we are the architects, the principal engineers, the people that kind of ensure that this is not going to cost the company an arm and a leg 10 years in the future, and it's actually going to, you know, set us up for what the business owner envisions for their business in 10 years.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
And which is, you know, how much would you be willing to pay if I guaranteed, you know, savings of $20 million over the next 10 years?
Right.
Hopefully you would pay a decent amount of money. Goodness gracious,
Right.
you know,
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course we can't like throw out guarantees like that, but that's kind of the reality. And that's obviously the goal for every business owner. You know, to, you know, grow their business and whatnot. But yeah, people need to definitely see us as the neurosurgeons of their business.
Yep.
If that makes any sense at all.
Yep.
You know, same with finance people, like they're like the accountants and the CFOs, they are like of equal importance, you know, but in a tech company, man, like the software engineers are like your bread and butter for the life of your company, you know?
Right. Right.
So yeah, anyway, I just wanted, I needed to, I feel like I needed to say that because it is, yeah, it's just too common for people to be like, yo, I need this done and I want it done in like, for like $20, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, no.
No.
It's just not, you know, number one, it's not going to take 2 seconds. And number two, it's, you know,
This decision can make or break your company.
Exactly.
You don't get this for $20.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So exactly. And it's like, do you really value your company at $20? Is that what you're telling me here?
Yeah.
You know?
Your whole thing's worth $20. All right. I'll just buy it from you. There you go.
Yeah, I'll give you $20 right now.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, but in reality, we're talking millions of dollars. Like this is definitely not a field where you're playing with a couple $1,000s.
Right.
And any like real entrepreneur in the space understands that it's like it's minimum hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
That you're talking about, and if you know, depending on the technologies that you're building for your company, it's millions very easily.
But it can also make you millions.
Yeah,
very easily.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why you do it. That's the whole point.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like
it's not dead money. Like you're going to get something out of this. That's the point.
Right. And you own, yeah. So I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible that you know we have the opportunity to be a part of this. Like this, you know, we're living in the world of AI. You and I use AI every day, you know, to help enhance our abilities and kind of. Like I like to see ChatGPT and these other AI tools as simply like my personal assistant. Like I am the architect of the idea here, and I'm going to tell ChatGPT what I'm working on and how I need it to have happen. Yeah. It's going to spit out some stuff that that is not perfect, but it lessens the load on my brain, so I can just have a starting point and you know build something great in an efficient amount of time.
Right. Hey, I got a question. A question for you, Blake. All right.
Yeah.
So you have been with Blake Technologies. You have been taking some people under your wing, right, and helping them grow as software engineers. How do I say this? Who do you think, like as a type of person, who do you think has a potential, or what kind of person has the potential to be the best software engineer that they can be? Because we don't want to say like I'm going to be the best in the world, but what kind of person has the capability to become a really good engineer?
That's a great question. I am not. So I'll say this. Right off the bat, I'll say this. I am not the best software engineer in the world. I definitely think I can say I have worked with some of the best software engineers in the world. I would say that what makes them the best software engineers in the world is the fact that they understand that they are not the best engineers in the world.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. I think that's very important in a mindset thing.
Yeah, because, I mean, just in this conversation, you and I have talked a lot about being the architects of things, right? It is very easy in this industry and what we do. It is very easy for a person to, because you can make a lot of money, right? Money often money tells people very easily that for some reason they think they're better than other people because of the amount of money they make.
Right.
It is very easy, not only just because of money, but it's very easy for people to be like, yo, I have this power. Like my power, this skill I have gives me like limitless potential, right?
Yeah.
So it's very easy for people to have a God complex.
Right.
Very, very easy. And it's also very common, unfortunately. So yeah, the best engineers, like I'm not just talking about like best people because they're humble. I'm talking about the most talented engineers I've ever worked with, have also been humble in their character and in their, the way they go about their work, like on a day-to-day basis. Cause I truly believe, and and in fact, I would say that it's a fact that you cannot be the best at something without that.
Yeah.
Because anybody that is humble, anybody that's like, incredibly talented, like let's just take like LeBron James for example. I don't know him. I don't really follow the NBA very much, but I know that he is. I'd say that he's like been debated as being one of the best basketball players in the world, right? And in history or whatever. But I can tell you this: if I were to meet him and I find that he's like prideful, there's probably somebody else somewhere in this world that just decided not to do basketball that would be better than him,
right?
If they decided to,
right?
Which is the attitude that every very talented person should definitely have, right?
Right.
Because if you think you're the best, you have officially decided to stop growing.
Right. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. Yeah.
So I would say that's number one. Right. Number two, let's say that now that you've like decided to believe that you are not the best and that you're trying to just learn from everybody around you.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to make you great. But let's say you've decided to do that. Now it's persistence. Persistence is the necessary second element to greatness, I would say. I've never met like the elite engineers that I've had the chance to work with, are just like, they love what they do. They're humble about their skill set, and they'll learn from a guy that's in school, learning how to do. Like you can find things to learn about from anybody in software,
right?
If you're just like looking to learn.
Yeah.
But they just do not stop, man.
Yeah.
Like
you gotta grind it out and you gotta go.
It's like you give me any problem, there's an element of confidence that you do need to have, like in or faith. I would say it's like more of like faith in yourself and faith in God, or, faith in general. It's like, give me any problem. And if I don't know how to solve it, I will either find somebody who can help me solve that, or I'll figure out a way.
Yeah. It's almost, it's almost like the faith that or almost like competing with yourself, challenging yourself to being able to solve any problem ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
like there's, in religion and stuff, like I personally believe that I will never be thrown a challenge. Like if God really is my creator, then I believe that he I'm not going to experience anything that I can't overcome. And so I take that same mentality into life, like in work.
Right.
Throw any challenge at me, and like I will tell you if I don't know.
Yeah.
Which oftentimes it's like I don't know right now in this moment.
Yeah.
But you can trust that I will figure it, and it'll probably eat me alive until I figure this thing out.
Yeah. That's yep.
And I as with all humility, I try to say it that way because that's kind of how I am. And I think that's what I see in the most talented.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a very long way of saying this, answering that question. But I do think about that a lot because I've had opportunities to hire and I've had to fire engineers in my career so far, and I've hired great ones, and I've also had to fire great ones.
Yeah.
Because of one of those two elements, one of those two elements is just not matching up. And if you're on an elite team that's, working for an elite company, you kind of, there's people that are out there that meet those criteria, that criteria. And so like the idea is to have those people on your team.
Right. Going to school. Right. And I was at that point where it was make or break. It was like, I either quit or I get this done, for my family.
Yeah.
And I told myself that, as long as I'm doing software, I will always be a lifelong learner. Always, right? There's no stopping that ever. So now when I see problems that I don't know, or if somebody asks me to solve a problem I don't know, it's I don't know, and I can't wait to solve it so I can learn it, right?
Yeah.
And that's my whole thing. Is my whole goal is to learn something once and remember that, right? So if you give me something that I don't know how to do, like, please ask me to do it. I would love to do that. I want to learn about it,
Yeah.
And then I can always come back to that experience. So
absolutely. And I think when I met you for the first time, it was pretty darn quick. I think you can meet these two criteria. Like I should say that this way. I can see that people are meeting this criteria in different ways. For some people, it's harder to kind of see that, but usually it's always going to be reflected in their personal life. To some degree. I mean, you can't. It's almost impossible to like be this kind of person just at work.
Yeah,
that just doesn't it just doesn't happen.
No, it's really forced, and it's not natural. And
yeah. So like when I met you, I could like you're doing a bunch of things. And right off the bat, it's like, it's for my family. Yeah. And like in my professional opinion, in my personal opinion, that's the most noble you can get. Like if it, for God or for family, like it's about not you. Yeah. Right. Yeah. If you're living life not for yourself, then you're living a good life. Yeah. And you're probably going to be happy. Right.
That's how I feel as well. I feel I am doing my best to provide for my family and my kids. And if anything comes back like, oh, you suck at this or you're not good at this, it's like, well, I'm doing this for my family. I'm not doing it for you. Right. Yeah. And I'm doing it for myself, but I'm a part of my family. So, yeah.
And I haven't been a employer for very long for like my business. But I've definitely decided that like early on, this is something I decided when I was a kid, because I always knew I was going to be a business person. But I've always decided that when I ask questions like what do you want, like why you do stuff, if it's for anything or anybody other than themselves, like the person that's answering that question, I'm in. I'm in. Right. Because I've asked this question to many people, and they're like, "Oh, I want a big house and a big, nice car, and I want to go on lots of vacations and things." Their motivation doesn't last very long. Right? People that, for anything that's selfishness just doesn't last long. Any motivation, anything that you do to accomplish personal, like 100% personal goals. Yeah. It's very rare that it just lasts very long. Right.
It needs to be like that's a bonus. Yeah. Like I can make a lot of money, but I'm not doing this for money. I'm trying to build a life for my family. Yeah. And great, I made some money.
Right. Well, it's an inevitable result. It's just a side product of, value. Right. Because in the world of business and in the world that we live in, if you provide value that people are going to be willing to pay for, then they'll pay for it, right? Right. And you'll just provide value. That if that's the focus of every business owner, you'll win. Right.
Agreed. Completely.
You'll win, and especially as an employee, like if you're coming at it from the perspective of an employee or a software engineer, like because like us, I'm seeking to provide value to the company that I'm working for. Provide value. Right. How can I save this company money? How can I make this company money? How can I make myself a better team member? How can I help my boss? How can I, like I said, this is not something that you can force. This is just something that you're either this way or like you've either chosen to be this way in life or you're like faking it and it's only going to last so long.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of extra work to provide value to other people.
Right.
It's the only way that you can really like find joy and happiness in life, I'd say.
Right.
Right. Because I think I've never really met a selfish person that's like really actually happy.
Yeah. Like really though. Yeah.
As weird as that is, I mean, I see a lot of people that are like it's just like everybody's in different circumstances. They're on their own or whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they're selfish.
Yeah.
But it's like you can just tell from the mindset,
Yeah. To go along with the whole best engineer thing, and because I was teaching up at Dixie Technical College, so I saw a lot of students, and I've been working with other software engineers a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've also worked with a lot of other people not in software. And growing up, my mom always taught me, she's like, integrity is one of the most important things. And the big question you ask yourself is, what are you doing when no one's watching? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what is your decision when no one's watching you?
Right.
And so when I am working with different people and I'm having friends or, the friends that I have, or I'm picking friends or anything, right? I'm wondering to myself is what are they choosing when no one's watching? And is that someone who I want to be around? Or like in work, like I don't get to choose my coworkers, right? Ever in any job, you don't get to choose your coworkers.
Right.
And is this going to be toxic, or is this going to be helpful for the value I'm trying to, help? And my question is what, like, am I making the right decision when no one's watching, and are they making the right decision? And is that who I want to be around?
Right. Yeah.
Totally. And I think that also helps with that humility and the best possible engineer.
Yeah. Yeah. Because this is, and we've talked about this a lot, but I gotta reiterate over it because it's like this is not a job that you just go get to carry you through life.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like this is not an intermediate type of career.
Yeah.
This is it's like a lifestyle. It's a frame of mind. It is you have, to write code means you kind of have to like see things in a different way.
This is who I am.
Yeah.
This architecture is who I am as a person, almost.
Yeah, and it's right.
Right.
And you have to see things in a way that people just don't naturally look at life.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm designing a button, or I'm putting a button on the screen. And I mean, you and I, we have conversations all day long about like user experience.
Yeah.
We are talking about like things that people just don't think about.
Yeah.
Like we've talked in the beginning when we were starting working together. One of the things that I remember kind of being, I guess very strict on or whatever is I just always say that my thumb, like when I expect my thumb to scroll a little bit, and I want to, like, my brain naturally wants to feel like the phone is an extension of my thumb. If the screen has like one button on it, I still expect it to bounce and like, I still expect the phone to be intuitive enough to like at least react to what I'm doing to it.
Right.
So you and I mean, software engineers in general, like you wouldn't believe the conversations we're having. We're having like hours and hours and hours and hours talking about how, okay, this is not really like, there's not a bunch of content that the user is going to be scrolling through here, but how is the user going to be interacting with this darn button?
Yeah.
Like a button, like some text, like if I,
yeah,
it's ridiculous how much time we spend talking about like how people are going to interact with this stupid thing,
Or even like I'm interacting with this part of the screen, but what is the part above that I'm not interacting with it doing? Right?
Exactly.
Like that is what makes a UX experience really good. And not to mention is if we do our jobs correctly and there's, hundreds of thousands or millions of users, everyone's going to be tapping that button. And if it's not right, like we're going to get a whole bunch of feedback that's bad, you know? So you can't just say, oh, button, done. It's got to be like, why is that there? Is it there for a reason? What is it going to do when something else is being used?
Exactly. Yeah.
for every single little tiny thing on every single app in the whole world. It's not just a small decision.
Yeah. If there was anything I would want people that have like the next big app idea thing, or like I want to have an app business, or I want to have a tech company or whatever. If there's anything that I would like for them to understand is like how much flipping work and energy goes into the every little minute detail,
Right.
and planning. I mean, my word, like the planning in my mind as the owner of Savesy, I am just thinking to myself like all day long about one stupid little button, like, and how it's gonna work 10 years into the future.
Right. Right.
It's
It really is.
and I make mistakes. Like that's the thing. The reality of the situation is like we make mistakes. Like
No one's
the
perfect.
other day, I like a crash was reported, and I was like, oh my word, every user is going to be experiencing this crash if we don't fix this right now, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, if there's 1 million users and one thing goes wrong, like one important element is going wrong, then you got 1 million people that are now like the company is in jeopardy.
Yeah. Like, what
Right.
do you do? What happens?
Yeah, and so like tech founders, like tech business owners, I don't think that most people consider that. They just don't consider that that's the kind of pressure that every software engineer is under.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I might, if you're working at Meta or a large company like Amazon as a software developer, you might be assigned to like one button.
Like your whole job.
Yeah, your whole job might be assigned to just like a text field or a button. But there's probably 100 different ways that this button can fail. And if you're not considering every single one of those like outcomes, if you make any minor change, you might cost the company $1 billion.
Yeah. Really. Honestly, though, yeah. And taking that in consideration to paying these software developers for the pressure that they're under.
Yeah, that's a whole nother freaking segment that we can go on. But yeah, I think if you were to pay, if you were to pay an elite software engineer the percentage that a neurosurgeon makes for the amount of money that they produce and stuff, I mean, it would be pretty wild. Because one software engineer can be really actually generate hundreds of millions or billions of dollars for a company.
Right.
It's not like the software engineer should be able to take credit for everything that other software engineers could have been like, building upon for 10 years or whatever to make the company what it is today. But like, you best bet that is the key element of your business is the person that's writing the darn code.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Like, I mean, Amazon exists online. They have warehouse. I mean, they're dealing with like a bunch of physical merchandise, but that's a tech company, man.
100%.
The checkout button doesn't work for one day. How much money,
do they lose?
Right.
Yeah.
And that literally is like code that somebody is out there working on.
Right. And how many people do they just piss off,
Yeah.
because they mess up the button.
I mean, heck yeah, one disgruntled employee that's working on the checkout button,
Right.
Like, I'm just saying, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but I know for sure that like that's how it is. There's an engineer out there that is assigned to that checkout button on Amazon, and it's their entire job to make sure that thing is like that thing it interacts the way people should expect it on both phones and like the website and whatever. Like, pretty wild.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think it's about time that we wrap up. We could probably tag team talking about life for years, but
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's been a pleasure, Bubba, having you on the podcast, and I would like to invite everybody to download Savesy. Please reach out to Bubba on how can we find you. I mean, if anybody wants to like get to know you or even offer you a job at some point, how would they be able to find you?
Yeah, so I have my own personal company called Bubba Hall Industries, and there's a website, there's Instagram, and there's Facebook, and you can also find me personally on LinkedIn. So, if you want to reach out for anything, you reach out to LinkedIn, and I will answer.
All right, it's Bubba Hall, right?
Bubba Hall, yep.
Bubba Hall, yeah. So go for it. I mean, it's crazy. I I feel weird kind of saying that because I don't want anybody to discover you. But I think, yeah, that's definitely the right thing to expose you as best I can. So
Yeah, I really appreciate having me on here. It's been a good time.
yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. All right, well, yeah, download Savesy. Go find Bubba Hall on LinkedIn, searching for Bubba Hall, and we'll see you guys next time.